What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the episode of the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I have been fascinated by this individual for so long, and I've always wanted to be in conversation with him. Not only is he an incredible artist, but what Rick Ross is doing outside the music studio is just as important that I fan out on as it is inside the studio. I love when public figures, in particular Black public figures, are able to use their currency for good and to advance their own economic means in certain ways, because when that economic means grows, communities become impacted and strongholds get released. And so for that, I'm a huge proponent of that. And this gentleman has done it. Without further ado, Mr. Rick Ross, what's happening, sir?
What's happening? What's happening? Thank you for having me.
Man, no, I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you're doing all that you do. So I just wanted to congratulate you from everything, from your weight loss journey, man, to the music, to focusing on health, to entrepreneurship. You remind me of that line where Biggie says, "I never thought hip hop would take it this far." And here we are, right? And even you loaning your home to, what was it, some movie recently? I forgot what movie it was, but it just aired. What movie was it, Rick?
Actually, Coming to America 2.
Coming to America 2, the fact that they use your crib, I was like, what is happening with Rick? I'm like obsessed with this man, right? So when you hear that line, never thought hip hop would take it this far, like what comes to your mind with me saying all that about you? Do you think about that?
Well, it's most definitely, I think about it. I do, but it's not the focus. You know what I'm saying? When you hear it, you appreciate it. And it's something else that could continue to fuel the fire to stay inspired. Because to me, that's what I think may be the major factor, remaining inspired after being in the game so long, after so many ups and downs, then after, achieving large success, you have to still find a way to remain inspired and do great things, because I think motivating the others is the most valuable asset, that I really have.
Yeah. What makes you stay so inspired? Because audience, as you all know, and as I talk to you often, just because you have prominence, just because you're a public figure, just because you have money, doesn't make things easier, right? It's just as challenging. I'm sure Rick has had failures too, as well, even being Rick Ross. So with that, what keeps you what keeps you inspired to keep trying new things, right? In spite of adversity, like what keeps you going to dig in deep for that?
I still look at, it's like I could almost look at a younger person and see the younger me in that person, and I could find that inspiration, because it's easy to think back to when, wow, man, you really doubted yourself in a major way. Wow, man, I just left a meeting and damn, they didn't appreciate me. Damn, they talked down on me. Damn, this shit ain't gonna work, and it's ways to look back and find those times. And that shit still drives me right now, because it's so clear recalling when, damn, I won't make it. They don't like my type of music. They want the girls to have on the bikinis. Go, 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 go. Damn, on like that. I love the music in the club, but I really don't make that type of records. I want to talk about, empowering ourselves and bossing up, and it really took time for me to get there. So I still think back to that, and it drives me.
I think audience, and Rick, just so you know, I like to translate from my audience too as well to make it relatable for them. Audience, as you're listening to Rick, I mean, how many times have you gone into your meeting with your boss? How many times have you gone for that interview? How many times have you tried something and you felt like they didn't see you, right? And so I think what Rick is illuminating, how it happens to all of us, no matter what your station in life, no matter what your position in life, we all have those moments where we feel undervalued, underappreciated, not seen. And our vision and goals not being made, which is why he created this book, The Perfect Day to Boss Up, a Hustler's Guide to Building Your Empire, which is an incredible book. Rick, what made you want to write this book? What made you think that now is the time for this book to boss up? Where are you at in your life that you said this is good?
Well, it was actually once we, came into the pandemic, I found myself, our tours were canceled, the performance, being in the club, just that connection I had with the streets, my fans, my supporters for the first time in over 15 years that was disconnected. So I found myself waking up in the morning. I'm a person that easily gets up at 6 a.m., and I found myself just kind of sitting there saying, what the hell is going on? You
Yeah.
know, and I have to make some adjustments. I have to make some changes, So I got on social media more than ever. I began doing, talking on my story in the morning. I had my DJ show me how I use my story. Okay, this how you use it. And I found myself talking about a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't talk about, bunch of shit I never discussed. I'm walking barefoot in the grass. I'm talking about motivation, and at the same time, I'm getting more questions from the fans that I've never had. They want to, how did you lose, close to 100 pounds? How did you keep it off? Rose, did you really have surgery? Nah, I'm shocked. Okay, now I'm showing them what I'm eating in the morning, showing them what I'm drinking, showing them me jogging. And, it just, I think that's what really inspired it. And next thing you know, let's just do the book, man, and really give them the game where they could read it day by day.
Yeah. I felt like Rick, over the last, as you said, over the last 2 years, 3 years, really for me, observing you, I felt like you have become more vulnerable. Talk to us about the vulnerability, because to answer these questions makes you vulnerable, right? Exposing the weight loss journey or exposing the jog, right? I was with my trainer this morning, and he and I were just talking about the vulnerability between a personal trainer and the client, right? They're seeing us at our weaknesses or when we can't do something, and the ability to push through, but you're exposing that for the whole world to see. How has the vulnerability impacted you by you being vulnerable? How has that impacted you?
I think, believe it or not, I think in my situation, I really feel like the more successful I became, the more I feel like I owe to a younger, somebody that's really rocking with me. So instead of me just cutting answers short and, keep it short and keep it moving, I felt like, nah, maybe we need to share this even more. So I discussed my health situations, me having seizures, because once I had a seizure, so many of my peers, so many celebrities pulled me to the side like, yo, Rose, I had a seizure, man. I was on my toilet for 3 hours before somebody, found me. And I was like, wow, damn, when did this happen, man? This was 6 years ago. And it was like, wow. Okay, so I see people open up more and more once they feel like they have somebody that understands them. And so I feel like the more I grew, the older I became in the game, the more doors that I have to open up as you grow. I feel like I owe the ones right behind me that much more, because a lot of this information I wish I had. You dig how valuable it really can be?
Well, talk to me then when it comes to entrepreneurship, because that is my bag. So you may or may not know this, but so President Obama appointed me as My Brother's Keepers ambassador, where I focus on millennial entrepreneurship for Black and brown boys. And then I was appointed to the United States Small Business Administration, Council of Underserved Communities. So really focusing on how we can government, academic institutions, and financial institutions to protect the new backbone of our economy, which is millennial entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship for me has always been a thing, right? I'm a tech founder, right? So like for me, like that is where, and I know you play in the tech space too as well, which I'm going to get to in a second. But when you get into entrepreneurship, right, and I love what you're doing with Wingstops and franchises, right? And going up in Michigan from the Midwest, for me, franchisees was how the Blacks were able to get into middle and upper middle class, was through franchisees, right? So yeah, talk to me about how you pivoted towards that, because for fun, and me and my family actually listened to Lemon Pepper Wings freestyle with you and Drake, which is one of my favorites, by the way, of your whole thing. That shit goes hard, bro. But I love me some good Lemon Pepper Wings, and I'm always asking some homies to hook me up with some Wingstop gift certificates. So how did you get into that space of franchisee world?
Really, it was just me having fun. I just wanted to have fun with the first franchise. I just wanted to have fun, pull up, with a, you know, a cool chick or a couple friends, and we walk in our spot, you know, or hey, just want our favorites, you know. Excuse me. And that's what it really was about, until I saw that, yo, I look up a year or two later and, you know, we actually winning. Well, let's go. Yeah. Well, let's go. Let's not stop. And, you know, a few years into the game, I thought the most important, the most valuable point that I felt we made was for anybody that's, you know, had the same vision I did, regardless of what situation you're in, those doors not closed on you. You know, I was the same dude, used to be in the back of the class, and, you know, I was cracking jokes, and not because I just wanted to be a comedian, because I never knew the answers to the math questions. If I knew the answers, I'm the type of person, yo, I got that too. You know, I would answer them motherfuckers back to back, but I didn't know them. So that's what made me want to be a great speaker, because I never, you know, learned my pre-algebra. I never learned all the other things. And so us becoming franchisees, you know, coming from the back of the classroom is so valuable. And all it tells you is, no, it's not over for you, not at all. It just tells you have to lead that much more. You understand? You have to get out front that much more quicker. And you have to make the vision that much more clearer. But they will get the picture.
Rick, I'm losing my mind right now because you're talking my language. And I talk about this narrative of Carlton, right? And so I gave a speech in Denver to some Black and brown boys one day. The mayor invited me out, and, you know, I did a Q&A with them. And at the end, one of the young men, you know, called me Carlton. So the whole room laughed. But I didn't respond. I'm like, I wanted to do more deep dive into what that meant. And so I came off the stage, I got a little closer to him, not in an aggressive manner, but just let him know he's in a safe space. I just want to unpack what this is. As I got closer, Rick, he became the boy that he is, right? He began to shrink. He had all this bravado in the beginning, right? But then he began to shrink a little bit. And I said, no, it's okay. Let's just talk. His homie who was sitting next to him, he had to be about 13, 14. His homie was sitting next to him. He said, you know what, Mike? He said, what it is we just never seen anyone like you in our neighborhood, right? And he said, we've never heard anyone, you know, talk like you, look like you, dress like you. And so it's just new for us. And Rick, in that moment, I recognized that the Carlton dynamic isn't a negative thing, right? It's just, there is people, sometimes we don't have the language to communicate what we're really feeling and how we're really expressing that it's different, but we don't know how to say it's different. So we do it through a joke. Right. And then so it's really Carlton. But really what they're really saying is that they like it, they respect it, they don't know anything about it, but they like it, but let's joke about it. Right. And so we as a community have a thing where we deflect, right? And we use comedy to hide our insecurities, right? And to project, which is what you're saying in the back of the classroom. You didn't know the algebra, so your insecurities made you do a joke, right? To mask your insecurities, right? But we do that all the time. So thank you for bringing that into this conversation. I have these conversations very often.
Without a doubt, because a lot of times we have to find a way to feel comfortable. And so when he was a great, and I could only imagine him fishing on his weekends and all that, but I didn't understand when A equals E and all that. I just never got that. That shit was a total language to Rose, but it's like I still understood what was going on. So it just let me know outside the classroom, I had to be much stronger in other areas, other points. I wanted to be a great speaker, a great talker. I wanted to make that eye connection, you know, and that's what I did. And I think that's what made me a better artist. That's where the writing came in at. That's where the wordplay came in at. That's what me wanting, I want to travel and do different things because I don't understand this over here, but all of this over here, you know. And that's what it was for Rose. I think at the end of the day, when I look back now at the student I may have should have went to a school where they showed us everything in film.
Yes.
Yeah. Versus the teacher guy that, you know, I would make jokes on and really didn't connect with all the way. I knew he was a cool cat, so we never gave him any problems. He never had any issues with the homies. You know what I'm saying? He just, the ones that was in the back of the class, it was what it was.
Dude, like I love how you said it, because for me, one size doesn't fit all. right? And like, especially when it comes to education, we all need something different. And so
Right.
what I love what you bring into the conversation, Rick, is that what you're saying is that you're actually different made you special, right? You're different of not knowing algebra made you a genius in writing, right? And that's okay. It's okay to be gifted in one area and not in the other area because it rings stronger. And
Right.
lyricists like yourself who do wordplay are actually English geniuses. The metaphors, the allegories, the alliterations, right? Like your storytelling, that's all literature, right? And so
Right.
that's why I love MCs the way that I do, especially those who are writing. I don't care what you're writing about, but as long as the wordplay, like the mastery of English that you guys like MCs have is so undervalued and so underappreciated, man. And so I just want to highlight that you're different actually made you stronger,
It's
right?
what
And it's okay.
right, right.
Yeah, dude,
Really.
I'm loving this, which is why you have this book. We're gonna keep plugging the book, A Perfect Day to Boss Up, a hustler's guide to building your empire. Audience, you won't be disappointed because these are just nuggets you're hearing in this interview, but the book goes so much further and so much deeper. Well, I want to ask you something, Rick, in a very like evolved way. This isn't for dramatic purposes, but because of who you are right now, the maturity that you have, that you're existing in, the vulnerability that you're in, the writing, and talking about hip hop, you work with both Drake and Kanye. What is your thoughts right now about this dynamic that's happening with them right
I
now on
love it.
Instagram and going back and forth?
I love it. I spoke with Drake last night. I love it.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. And when we spoke, after we got off the phone, he sent me a text and it was so powerful. He said, everything is unfolding. I'm about to be as free as a bird. And he put the caption with the owl. And I couldn't do nothing but put ha, 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 ha. Because to me, I understand the genius of both of these artists, and I understand this is nothing personal to them. This is them, two levels of creativity, inspiring each other because they both are up right now thinking of the artwork, thinking of the credits, where do we place, what color is this, and to me, it only makes the game that much more genius, that much more valuable. Watching Kanye doing listening events in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you know what that is for a Black artist? It wasn't many years ago they wouldn't even let a Black man into those type of arenas, and now just to present my LP to some of my most valuable fans, we just gonna listen. I'm not gonna say one word. It was.
I never thought hip hop would take it that far.
Exactly, and that's why you gotta appreciate it. And I understand what Drake and Kanye is doing right now, and it's genius. They both inspiring each other.
So is it an iron sharp? Do you think it's an iron sharpens iron situation?
Of course. Kanye posted Drake's address on the Instagram, but who didn't have Drake's address already? It's the only $100 million estate in Canada.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand what's going on, you would have thought that was personal. It really wasn't. That's just them getting ready for as Drake said, everything unfold.
I want to go further along with that because now we're talking about Kanye in the stadium. We're talking about, Drake being at their best in their height. For me, I'm excited to see what Kanye is doing. And me personally, Rick, I hope you never stop touring, right? Like me personally, I hope Kanye never stops touring. Drake never stops touring. I pray Jay and Nas never stops touring because you guys hold a certain position in hip hop, right? Like you guys have crossed over mainstream, whatever that means, but that's because hip hop is the most consumed genre of music in the world, right? And so there is a consumption factor with it. And so my always concern is the pushback when we get to ageism of hip hop, right? That people think it's a young person sport. But for me, Rick, I'm always like, if the Rolling Stones can tour when they're 70, right? Like if Aerosmith can tour when they're 70, selling out stadiums and arenas, how come hip hop can't do that too? So I'm always curious, like, what's your thoughts on that? We've never seen hip hop grow yet, right? To that level, right? So I'm just curious, what's your thoughts on that?
Right. In one way to me, I look at it like this. I feel like hip hop is so valuable. We hold it so dear to our hearts that we feel that once you become a past tense or someone that stepped down from a place of greatness, that it may be best to leave it there. And from some perspectives, that's cool. I understand that. But when you speak of those names such as Nas, Jay-Z, Kanye, Drake, Lil Wayne, it's certain people that doesn't apply to. It's like when you in the airport and you going through coach and you look over there and you see someone in clear and you wonder why they put their fingers on the little thing and they keep going and leave their shoes on. That's what those icons are. They have clear. You understand? That's from a
clear preach it.
Commercial sense.
Yeah.
We know how they fly, but from a commercial sense, that's and to me, that's how dope hip hop is. And it's a lot of artists that I will love and pay to watch perform forever. The Slick Ricks, the Eric B. and Rakims. If Eric B. and Rakim is performing in the city I'm at, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and go see Eric B. and Rakim. And I hope they have on a Dapper Dan outfit and the whole 9 yards, the double rope chains. And, I want to just go back to that era of 88, 89, Dead Presidents or whatever it is, because to me, that shit is so valuable. And those are the dudes, to me, that still have clear. And they walk clearly through any yellow tape in the culture for as long as they want to, because that shit, that valuable, is that dope. And right now, it's still that timeless.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Rick, I could talk to you all day. In closing, though, I want to get to, because I think this goes into the perfect day to boss up, a hustler's guide to building your empire. I think audience, as little Rick mentioned Lil Wayne, he has a great song called Let the Beat Build, right? And so I'm letting this conversation build as quick as I can to evolution that's wrapped in bossing up, entrepreneurship, and roadmap. I'm curious, Rick, how did you get into the tech space, right? I'm familiar with you in the medical app that you're associated with, and also to Rap Plug. Shout out to Craig. So how did you decide to get the interest into technology?
And that's one thing I want to make sure the youngsters understand: what success brings to the table, what wealth brings to the table is more opportunities. The doors open and you get to sit at the table with a lot of other people that understand your struggle, understand, what it took for you to get where you were at. And they respect and admire that. And so right now I have currently 20 partnerships right now. And once again, it's about not being exhausted, not being tired, not being burnt out, and wake up every morning. And just imagine doing interviews after 15 years and still look forward to them. If the Wi-Fi is weak, we still find a way to make it happen. And to me, that's so dope. And so me being in the room with, other icons, other CEOs, I had the opportunity to meet, other dudes on that road to success, such as Rap Plugs, which is, it makes sense. It goes hand in hand with everything I'm doing. My fans that's overseas who want to watch me perform every chance they get, Rap Plugs is the plug now. They'll be at the performance. They'll show you what it's like backstage when I'm picking out my jewels, when I'm picking out my track list, when I'm going over certain things with, my DJ Sam Sneak. And that's more valuable now because, since the pandemic, it's a lot of people that's, sitting at home and not being able to go out. So it's more valuable than ever. So I moved forward and created a partnership with Rap Plugs, created a partnership with Tommy Duncan and my Jet Docs. And just because of being in the middle of the pandemic and so many Black and brown people not having insurance, us having the worst conditions when it comes to health, cholesterol, blood pressure, and I could go on and on. And a lot of times we really can't afford it. It's not just an excuse, but a lot of times it's a lot of good people who are in bad situations. So we wanted to, highlight that, this app, which makes it more affordable for, people in, worse conditions.
Rick Ross, I can keep you all day. The next time you come back on the Mike Muse Show, one, I hope you enjoyed yourself today, and you will come back on because I want to next talk with you in the next conversation about legacy, right? Because what you're doing is creating legacy and generational wealth. And just as I started out in the beginning, Rick, that has an impact on our community because the things that we can do when we have generational wealth on behalf of our community is game changing. And so I just want to do a deep dive into that, man. Ladies and gentlemen, please go get this book, The Perfect Day to Boss Up, A Hustler's Guide to Building Your Empire by Rick Ross. This conversation has been amazing. There's still much more I want to unpack. Rick Ross, thank you for your gift, your genius. Thank you for recognizing the importance of the space that you have in order to clear a runway, since we've been talking about planes. For others to come and showing us the blueprint, man. I really appreciate you, Rick.
Without a doubt. Thank you for having me.